He's 18 years old, he's from Indianapolis, and he came to New York City on August 26th to study music and violin at the Juilliard School. His name is William Harvey, and on Sunday, September 16th, he had what he describes as the most incredible and moving experience of his life. Juilliard had organized a quartet to play at the Armory, the huge military building where families of people missing from the disaster went to wait for news of their loved ones. Entering the building, he says, was very difficult emotionally because the entire building, the size of a city block, was covered with posters of the missing. Thousands of posters spread out up to 8 feet above the ground, each featuring a different smiling face. William and his Juilliard buddies sight-read quartets, with only 3 people, for hours, and in an email he sent to my producer, he wrote this: "I don't think I will soon forget the grief counselor from the Connecticut State Police who listened the entire time, or the woman who listened only to memory from cats, crying the whole time." At 7 p.m., the other 2 players had to leave. They had been playing at the Armory since 1 o'clock and simply couldn't play anymore. I volunteered to stay and play solo since I had just gotten there. I soon realized that the evening had just begun for me. A man in fatigues who introduced himself as the sergeant major asked me if I'd mind playing for his soldiers as they came back from digging through the rubble at Ground Zero. Masseuses had volunteered to give his men massages, he said, and he didn't think anything would be more soothing than getting a massage and listening to violin music at the same time. From 9 p.m. until 11:30, I played everything I could from memory. Never have I played for a more grateful audience. Somehow, it didn't matter that, by the end, my intonation was shot and I had no bow control. The men would come up the stairs in full gear, remove their helmets, look at me, and smile. At 11:20, I was introduced to Colonel Slack, head of the division. After thanking me, he said to his friends, "Boy, today was the toughest day yet. I made the mistake of going back to the pit, and I'll never do that again." Eager to hear a first-hand account, I asked, "What did you see?" He stopped, swallowed hard, and said, "What you'd expect to see." The colonel stood there as I played a lengthy rendition of Amazing Grace, which he claimed was the best he'd ever heard. By this time it was 11:30, and I didn't think I could play anymore. I asked the sergeant major if it would be appropriate if I played the national anthem. He shouted above the chaos of the milling soldiers to call them to attention, and I played the national anthem as the 300 men of the 69th Division saluted an invisible flag. After shaking a few hands and packing up, I was prepared to leave when one of the privates told me the colonel wanted to see me again. He took me down to the war room. It turns out that the division I played for is the famous fighting 69th, the most decorated division in the U.S. Army. He pointed out a letter from Abraham Lincoln offering his condolences after the Battle of Antietam. The 69th suffered the most casualties of any division at that historic battle. After thanking me again, the colonel presented me with the coin of the regiment. "We only give these to someone who's done something special for the 69th, he informed me. As I rode the taxi back to Juilliard, I was numb. Not only was this evening the proudest I've ever felt to be an American, but it was my most meaningful as a musician and a person. At Juilliard, kids can be hypercritical of each other and very competitive. The teachers expect, and in most cases get, technical perfection. But this wasn't about that. The soldiers didn't care that I had so many memory slips I lost count. They didn't care that, when I forgot how the second movement of the Tchaikovsky went, I had to come up with my own insipid improvisation until I somehow, and I still don't know how, got to a cadence. I've never seen a more appreciative audience, and I've never understood so fully what it means to communicate music to other people. And how did it change me as a person? Let's just say that next time I want to get into a petty argument about whether Richter or Horowitz was better, I'll remember that when I asked the colonel to describe the pit formed by the tumbling of the Twin Towers. He couldn't. Words only go so far, and even music can only go a little further. William Harvey, age 18, from Indianapolis, came to New York City on August 26th to study violin and music at the Juilliard School, and on the evening of September 16th, he learned the meaning of life. And I want to thank you for writing that piece.
Thank you.
And now you're going to play Amazing Grace.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm Judith Regan. Thank you for being here, and have a good night.